So hey everybody, what's going on? I'm gonna take some time to tell you about a game I've been playing recently, and I really enjoy it, and I feel that it's a good game to discuss because a lot of people probably have this game on their radar right now. And the game is Bravely Default for the 3DS. It is a new JRPG from Square Enix for the 3DS, and Megan was nice enough to get me the collector's edition for my birthday. So I'm really happy that she got that for me. My birthday's next week, and she gave it to me when it came out, so it was really nice of her, and I've been playing it and really enjoying it for the most part. But it's got a lot of good things about it and a lot of bad things about it. So I figured I would take some time to show off, or not even show, but talk about some of the stuff that I like and dislike about it. Because now this is going to be through the lens of my interests in games, so there might be some stuff that you disagree with, but from how I prefer games, this is my feedback on Bravely Default so far. So stay tuned. So with Bravely Default, at its core, it's a traditional JRPG. There's turn-based battles, and in the style of those typical games, you encounter enemies along your way through the story, and you perform an action, and then your other party members perform an action, and then after your actions are done, then the enemies do their actions. But that's pretty standard for every JRPG that has a traditional turn-based battle system. But one thing that this game adds that really changes it up is two systems. One is the Brave system, and one is the Default system, because of the name of the game. And I wanted to explain what those were, so you can kind of get an idea of what that really means in the context of the game. So basically, let's start with the Default option. Now, when you're getting into a battle in the game, you can choose default up to, well, you only do default one time. I'm thinking ahead to Brave. You use the default action, and it's basically what like a defend would be in an RPG, where you wouldn't do anything in the turn except for take less damage if you happen to be hit by the enemy. But every time you do that, it stores up a Brave point in your character's inventory, I guess, and the Brave points can be later spent to do multiple turns at once. So just as an example, let's say you start a battle and you have everybody default. They now have 1 point. Then you have them default 2 more turns. Then the enemy can attack, but they won't be attacking you as strong while you're in the default mode. But now you have 3 points added up. So now, along with that 4th turn, you now have basically 4 attacks in a row, or 4 actions, because you can attack, heal, items, whatever abilities you have. You can do 4 of those in a row without having the enemy attack you in between. So it's really cool because you can now build up all those actions and do them all at once, and then you're back to 0, so you can attack again your next turn or do whatever it is your next turn. So it's really cool that they did that, because it adds a little bit of strategy to how you want to approach the battles. And on the flip side of that, there's the Brave system, which instead of storing points, you can actually go in the negative and do some actions, but then have a delayed time before you get back into the game. So with that, you Brave your character, and you can do it like up to 3 times in a row. So you now have 4 actions you can do in a row. And what is really cool about that is, even though it's like a high risk reward setup by doing that, you can easily get through some lower level enemies by just going all out attack and just wipe out the enemies right off the beginning. So it helps speed up the process, which I'd say over the past like 10 years or so, I've played a lot less JRPGs than I used to, and one of those reasons is because the random battles and grinding that is required to level up your characters can just be quite a slog after a while. And this Brave and Default system's cool because now if you brave up all these actions when you fight a low-level enemy, you breeze through the fight so much faster. So it's not as hard to get through some of the random battles. But one thing I like about the game is it goes beyond that even, and it takes the idea of speeding up battles to a new level, to a new place. Because one thing you can do is, when a battle has started and you've selected your action, you can use the directional buttons on the controller to actually speed up the battle or slow it down if you want to see the animation slower. So if you're going through those aforementioned random battles with low-level enemies, not only can you go all out and attack to try and clear the battle quicker, but you can speed up the animations, so it's even quicker than that. And I really like that, because it's like when you're going through those lower level, or just, you know, you're grinding your characters and want to level up their job classes, it's nice to be able to just speed through it. So I really like that. And the game even goes beyond that and gives you a few other options, because if you go into the actual options menu and you go down to like the difficulty menu, there is a slider that you can actually turn down the encounter rate to 50% less or 0, or you can go higher too if you want to encounter more enemies. So it lets you take control of how you want to level up your characters, and if you have to backtrack, which you will later in the game, need to backtrack to a lot of places. If you're going through enemies that aren't going to give you much experience and you just are like, oh, sick of the random battles cutting in between the gameplay, you can go through an area and do what you need to do. And there's these chests that I need a special key or something to unlock that I've been in areas that I've been through. And what's nice is when I go back to those areas, I can just turn off the random battles to get to the chest I need to and then get out of there, instead of, you know, taking way too long to go through there. I'm already like 45 hours through the game and I'm not done with it yet. So if I had all those older JRPG conventions in there, I'd probably be up to like 60 hours right now. So it's really cool to have that in there. So that's gameplay wise some of the best things I think they added, on top of the fact that it really controls well, because besides just going through the menus with the directional pad and picking your actions, you can basically do it one-handed if you want to, because you can press right or left on the directional pad to like select or cancel. So you can just, the accessibility is really nice for it. So something I really think they did well with on that. Now, another thing I really like about the game is that the battle system itself, besides being a traditional battle system, it has a job system. And if you've played a game or haven't played a game that has a job system, what that is basically there's job classes that you can assign the 4 members of your party to be. And these different job classes could be like Black Mage, which lets you perform black magic, but you might not be able to do as much physical attacks. Or you can do a White Mage, which has healing magic, but again, can't really attack too well. Or there's other ones that are kind of traditional, like a monk class, which is like no weapons but just uses his fists or like gloves to attack, and then has some other abilities that can help support your team or support the character you're playing as. But it has really unique jobs in there too, like a vampire and a dark knight, and they have and there's like some that are traditional, like summoner and stuff, but then there's like pirate and all these cool things, and they all have cool abilities that do unique things, and you can mix and match them with your 4 characters. So it's really fun doing that. But that's kind of standard with any job game. But what's cool is the job classes in this, mixed with the Brave and default system of the battle, really make them addicting battles. Like you can just try so many cool things and combinations with your characters, and there's even like exploits you can make to really make some battles easier, some bosses easier, because of these things you can unlock. And you unlock abilities with the each job as you level them up. So just really deep gameplay there, and that's something that I say the game aces. It really does it well, and that's why it's worth playing the game. There's other things I really like too about it. The backgrounds are hand-drawn artwork. They look really nice, but they're laid on top of 3D elements, so there's a really nice sense of depth in the area, but yet they still have this really hand-drawn look to them. And what's cool is every area in the game, if you stop moving, the camera like backs out and lets you see like the whole area and nice expanse. So if it's like a town or a cave or something, it like zooms out and lets you see like the perspective of it. And with the 3D on the 3DS, it looks really nice. It's just really cool. It looks awesome, and I'm a huge fan of towns and RPGs. That's like one of my favorite things about JRPGs, is like just seeing the different towns, and really it makes me feel like I'm a part of the world. So they do a really good job with that in this game. So those are probably all the really good things I can say about it, but it's not a perfect game. One of the things just right out the gate with the game is that the story isn't very complex to begin. It's kind of your standard JRPG. There's like a main plot that goes by, But it doesn't do anything new at first. So it's, if you're playing and wanting to be enthralled from the get-go, you're probably not going to be, but the gameplay is good enough that, you want to start going through the story and everything. And it's decent. It serves it well. The characters are okay that you could play as. You have 4 people in your party, and 3 out of the 4 of them I like. They're really cool, but there's one that just doesn't really interest me. Everything she says is, sometimes she'll say stuff that I'm like, right, but you've seen things happen that should make you say otherwise or something, so it's kind of unbelievable, some of the stuff they say, or unacceptable, which is a word she uses actually. But the other characters are pretty good. There's a comic relief character who's kind of like a womanizer, and he's really cool. And then there's like the nice guy in the group who is the loyal, always does the right thing and makes the right choice one, but he's likable, he's good. And then there's another character, which, minor spoiler, but it's early in the game, she starts off on the enemy side and then joins you like really early on, like right in the beginning of the game. So she's cool because she has that, connection to the enemies in the game, which are actually kind of another problem, I'd say, at least at first in the game, is the enemies' motives, they're not really like clearly defined. So like you're seeing stuff happen in the game, like the town they're taking over, people are dying in it, or there's a war going on. But when you fight them, they're like saying, you're wrong, you're doing something bad, and, how dare you defy us, and everything. And at least for the first 40 hours or so, it's kind of, those motivations don't make any sense. So every time the bad guy opens his mouth, it's like, ugh, God, it's just annoying. Now, I will say, without giving away too much, that as the story progresses, it does get a little more deeper, and there's some plot twists and stuff. I'd say about 40 hours in, if you're doing, side quests and stuff, about that far into the game, that do kind of make the story get a little better and everything. But unfortunately, at the time that the story starts getting better, the game starts getting really repetitive. And I'm not talking about the battles, which are always repetitive in JRPGs, and I'm used to that. Plus, like I said, you can speed through them a lot quicker in this game. But I'm not going to spoil the story, so I'm going to create a fake scenario just so you get the idea. But let's say the game starts off and you have to visit the 4 kings in the kingdom. And so there's 4 locations you have to go. And then when you visit the king, there's a dungeon after that, and then there's a boss. And that's like this formula, and then you do that 4 times. So that would be okay as just a base formula for a story. And now where I'm at the game, in the story right now, even though that's not the story and how it plays out, let's just say at the point I'm in the game, 40 hours in, I now have to do it again and go visit the 4 places and do pretty much the same things. Maybe the boss is a little harder, but it's the same exact boss, same exact people, and it just feels like it's padding. I don't like that. It feels cheap. I'm like, okay, I've done this already. Maybe in a new game plus I'd want to go through it again, but the fact that this is in the core plot of the game, I'm just like, and it might pay off. I haven't beaten it yet, and this isn't a review by any means, but it's just my thoughts, and that's something that really is irking me about it. But the gameplay is still really fun. It's just kind of annoying that I'm kind of doing the same thing again. And there's other games that have done that before, where it's like, you get to the end and now turn around and go back and do it in reverse, and sometimes it's annoying. And in this game, I think it is. But it's still good overall. The game is worth playing. I think it's a great new game for the 3DS, and I can see why it's gotten acclaim. But something like that kind of irks me. And then I'd say the last few minor complaints I have about it are, for one, the music is good, but there's like one battle theme throughout the whole game. There's one boss theme throughout the whole game. And each town has nice music and stuff. But it's just, there's so many themes in like old RPGs, even like going back to like Super Nintendo, that like are, you remember these moments in the game with the music that was associated with it. And in this, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that battle music for that game. It just doesn't carry the game by the music, which a lot of RPGs do, and one of the reasons I like RPGs. So it's kind of annoying. And then I'd say, let's see, the only other thing I could really complain about the game is, with the story being simple and stuff, it wouldn't bother me so much if it was told in a nice way. And I'm going to try to give the best example of what I mean by this. So when you're playing like an old JRPG. Let's say this is the scenario. There's a king and his guard, and then you're coming to talk to the king. And while you're talking to the king, an assassin comes in and kills the guard and then leaves and steals something. And if any other RPG, let's say a Super Nintendo Final Fantasy, or maybe like a Final Fantasy on PS1 or something like that, you'd see all this stuff happening. The character would run in and kill the guy and run away, and everybody would be reacting and stuff, and it'd be cool to see that unfold, whether there's dialogue or audio, or it's just like text. It's still, the games can convey those stories pretty well. But in this game, it kind of, it cheapens out when there's stuff happening, and it, instead of showing this cool stuff happening, there'll be this nice, beautiful background where you are, where the story's taking place, and then all of a sudden it fades to like dark, almost black, and in front of that it shows the characters that were in that scene down below just facing each other and blah blah blah, blah talking. So it kind of cheapens out what's happening, and there's some really cool story stuff later in the game that happens that would be nice to see it take place, but instead they're just, oh, here's what's happening, and then he disappears when he's not in the scene anymore, and then he reappears, and it just feels cheap. I don't know. I feel like for as many advancements this game makes, it feels more behind than an old Super Nintendo game or an old PlayStation game, and I feel like, our JRPGs need more advancements than that, so that's kind of annoying, but it doesn't destroy the game for me or anything. It's just little pet peeves that I think need to be known, and I hope that by watching this video you might be able to see if it's the kind of game you want to play. But I still have a little more to go in the game. I don't know how much longer is left, but I'm about 45 hours in, and I do really enjoy it. So I think you should check it out if you like JRPGs, if you have a 3DS, and it's a good game. I'm sure many years from now people will go back and be playing this when they play old 3DS games, and, oh, I never played that one. It's definitely worth playing. But hopefully the sequel, which I think there is one in Japan, if that comes out over here, I hope it fixes a lot of the problems with it. But the problems don't outweigh the good things. So I hope this video helped. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I know there's a lot of people interested in this game right now, so I figured it'd be good to talk about. And since Megan hasn't played it yet, I figured I'd just do this video real quick and put it out there so you guys could kind of see what this game's about. And I'll try to put some footage in there. Even I don't have a way to capture 3DS, so I hope you got to see some stuff that I was talking about. So overall, check it out. Good game. If I was reviewing it in progress, I'd say it's probably like an 8 out of 10 or something. It's just a good game. But some stuff really impressed me, and some stuff really disappointed me. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.